Hello, I am creating this video for my dear friend Christine, who asked me to share my GIWA spreadsheet that I use for planning and just sort of keeping track of things in my life. And so I'm creating this video to walk you through how to use it and also share with anyone else who might find it valuable. So I'm going to share my screen and then we'll get started. All right, so first of all, I want to say that this is a combination of things I learned from a different bunch of different people over the years, and then I just sort of created my own planner, my own version. And I really encourage everyone to do that. I think everyone should have a customized planner and way of tracking like all the things that they want to keep track of, because it really is a very unique thing. So for instance, so I started learning about um, gratitudes, intentions, wins, and acknowledgments, which is where the GIWA stands for, GIWA, gratitudes, intentions, wins, and acknowledgments. So it started out as this like really simple spreadsheet, and I'm going to show that an example of it. This is back from 2000 or 2021, and so it was just very simple, right? I had the date is the row, and then each column I had gratitudes, intentions, wins, and acknowledgments. And I would, as you can see, I didn't always fill it out. It's one of those things like do your best. But the idea behind this is that a gratitude is something that you're grateful for, whereas an intention is something that you're intending to do. So the color coding matters here. So the green things are things that include stuff that's kind of to some degree out of your control. And the intentions and the acknowledgments, the blue, these are things that are entirely within your control. So gratitudes are things you're grateful for. So it's often things in the world, grateful for other people, grateful for things you have. And so it just reminds you of all the positive stuff that you have in your life. And then intentions is about you setting an intention for your day. It can be very task focused, like the ones you see here are very task focused, but I've also done things like I want to follow my highest excitement today, or I want to love unconditionally today, or, so sometimes if there's a theme or a mindset that you want to focus on, that can be your intention too. Um, and what you have to be careful of, this is what happened to me, is this column sort of turned into a to-do list. And that's not really what the intention is. And in fact, in the one that I use now, I'll show you how I sort of modified it to get away from that. Where I kind of use it as a to-do list, but not entirely. I separate out intentions and tasks. So wins are things that good things that happen to you, right? Like in this case, right? Like, oh, there's lots of opportunities, job opportunities that like maybe I got an interview or someone's gave me something for free or I reached a goal or, something good happened, but it's usually not just yourself, like something out in the world sort of happened also to lead to that win. Acknowledgments, on the other hand, are things that are specifically like just you did it. You took some kind of action, you shifted your mindset, like, and I have some examples here, right? I gave myself time to process my feelings instead of being productive. So, in other words, instead of saying, I don't have time to deal with these annoying, pesky feelings, I'm gonna go, I need to just get stuff done. I was like, no, I need to take time out to process, to deal with these emotions, and then I'll move on and go do all the things. Um, so that's sort of the core that I started out with. And then I eventually ended up, for a time I did Michael Hyatt's Full Focus Planner when it first came out. And that's cool. And that had a lot of things that I liked. So then I modified the spreadsheet using some of those principles as well as stuff that I learned more recently from Clayton Mask. And then just like things that I'm like, you know what I need? I need this. So that's what you'll see here. So this is the one that I use currently, and I actually just updated it some for 2025. The way you use it, so this is like a sheet for each week. And then this is like your quarterly goals and so that's why this says like Q1. And so I would like basically duplicate this for every quarter. And so this is sort of my high level like planning. And this is the stuff I got most of this stuff I think from Clayton Mask and then May and Tran also like helped me add some stuff like identity and vision. So the idea is like up here you put this you're gonna do like annually or quarterly, this sheet. And it's like, how do I identify what is my life purpose? In my case, because I have a message to get out to the world, I would put that. And this is all blank because it's a template. This is what I'm going to share out. And some stuff, quite frankly, I'm like, that's personal. I'm not putting it in a video on the internet. So this is sort of your overall, this is like, it's like your North Star for your life. Ikigai, if you don't know what that is, Google it. It's really cool. So yeah, these are like the emotions I want to cultivate in my life values. And then over here, um, and I'm going through all this really fast because I think if you've done any kind of like planning or stuff like that, like you kind of know what this stuff is. Um, what I do want to focus on is like make it your own, right? Change these things, take some out, add things. Down here, these are the different areas of life. So like this whole section is like goals. So this stuff is kind of like about my whole life. This stuff is sort of about this year and this quarter. And then this is kind of like the goals for your life in your year. So you're saying like, how do I want to identify in the area of spirituality? What do I want my identity to be in the area of health and so on and so forth? There's a lot here. This is like a lot. These are kind of mine. And um, some of them you might combine, right? So in my case, I put romance and social separately because social is like for friends and family, and this is like looking for love. Whereas if you're already married, you might combine those things. And same thing with like career and business. Some people, their business is their career, and other people, they're doing something on the side. And then like I would travel because that's a goal I have is to travel. So, you can choose the categories however you want, make them your own. If you have a lot, if you're sort of a goal overachiever like I am, um, you're gonna need to pick like your top three and kind of say you can create goals in all the areas, but you're probably not going to be able to work on all of them meaningfully at the same time. That's what I found from doing this last year is that I had to pick my top priorities. And so I like highlighted those with a different color. And so yeah, so you have your identity, you have your vision, your lifetime goal in each of those areas, and then you're going to break the lifetime goal down into a 10-year goal, 3-year goal, your annual goal, a quarterly goal, and of course a monthly goal. And then I added this here, habits, because for two reasons. Sometimes in order to achieve a goal, you need a habit. So if my goal is to write a book by X date, then I need to be writing on a regular basis, right? So I would create a habit goal that supports whatever my larger goal is. And just so you know, I define a goal as something that's finite, something that you can finish it and check it off your to-do list. Whereas a habit is going to be something ongoing. Sometimes you'll have one or both. Sometimes the habit will support the goal, and sometimes it will be unrelated to a goal you're going to check off the list. So, for example, if I have a meditation goal, that's not really like it's not to accomplish I'm not meditating to accomplish something else. It's simply something I want to do to improve my life. Same thing with like flossing, right? Like You're not flossing so you can achieve something you can check off a list. You're just trying to be more healthy with your oral care, right? So sometimes the habits will be related to a goal, and sometimes they won't. And You don't have to have a goal for all the areas for this month, right? So for the month of January, I might only come up with a few goals. Maybe like 3 goals. I might have annual goals in all the areas, but I might only have quarterly and monthly goals in a few areas that I'm focusing on for right now. So that's kind of the sort of like the big picture tab. That's why I call it the overview. And then yeah, for like Q2, I would just duplicate this and name the new one Q2. Or you could just keep the same goal. Well, I guess if you really are breaking them down by quarterly and monthly, you would have new goals each time. You could even do it monthly, I guess, if you did it every time you change this. But so it's up to you how many versions of this you want to have. Okay, so now coming back to the weekly spreadsheet, which is what I use daily. So this is like the template. And so at the beginning of each week, I will duplicate it and then I'll rename it to put the week number. So like we're in week 2 of 2025, and you just got to take off the copy. All right, and so then first thing I'll do is I'll go and put in the dates. So like so. And then okay, so then each column is for a day. So this is the column for Monday the 6th. So, and I have 2 places here where I can write things that I'm grateful for. So I'll put those there. Sometimes I do 2, sometimes I do 1, sometimes I forget to do this and put none. So, and if you ever want to put more than one thing or more than what the cells will handle, you can add more rows if you want, right? Just, insert a row. But you can also do like, so if I'm grateful for my friend Christine, and then my son Alex, and I'm like, oh, I also want to say my son Darren. You can do Command or Control Enter, and it'll give you a new row. So you can do that. And you can be as short or as verbose in these gratitudes as you want. If it's long, it'll wrap to another line, and that's fine. Okay. So this stuff basically from here up, I'm going to fill that out in the morning. And then from acknowledgments down, I'm usually filling that stuff out in the evening. And you'll see again, the same color coding sort of applies. Gratitudes is stuff that is not entirely in your control. Same thing with wins and the heaven on earth moments. Whereas the stuff in blue are things within my control. Okay, so intention, I changed this to intention slash top priority. And that is because like I said, sometimes it's a more sort of broad intention, and sometimes it's like, this is the most important thing I want to get done today. So it can be either one of those things. And then who, that's something I just added this year. Because in my annual exploration that Christine and I did together, one of the questions that it asked was, who do you want to deepen your relationships with this year? And so I decided to add that as a row on my spreadsheet and said, okay, who am I going to focus on? Am I going to call someone? Am I going to hang out with them? Am I, going to send them a text message or something, right? How am I going to engage with someone in my life who I want to build relationships with and deepen relationships with? And then also I recently read Who Not How and the book, and that is a really great book, highly recommend. And so this could also be used for reminding myself who are some of the people that I need in my life that I need to go look for. So this row could also be used for that. Um, and then appointments, that's anything where I have to be somewhere at a certain place or time. So that's pretty self-explanatory. Tasks. This is like the top tasks for the day. And this is, um, I try not to use this spreadsheet as my to-do list. I keep on my Google Calendar, all my tasks. So this is really more a place to put my top ones. And I usually try to stick to my top three. And really, if you put something here in your intention row, then it's really four, top four. But for those days when I have like a lot of little things to get done, I do have five rows here. Then delegate and automate. That is a reminder to ask for help from other people, to delegate certain tasks when I can, and also to think about, is there something repetitive in my life that I can automate or, find a better way to get it done, especially if it's something I don't enjoy. Um, and then acknowledgments, that's the same as we talked about before. This is where you're acknowledging the effort you put in, the way you managed your emotions, managed your mindset, anything where you want to sort of give yourself a pat on the back and say, good job, you did this. And the reason this, I think, is actually probably the most important part of this entire spreadsheet because this is a game changer. People talk all the time about gratitudes, like you hear about that a lot in personal development circles of the importance of gratitude. And that's true. I'm not saying it isn't true. Gratitude, being grateful for what you have and being aware of everything you have is very important. But what makes acknowledgments also very important is that a lot of times we only judge ourselves by the wins, right? When something we wanted to happen happened. And the downside of only focusing on the wins is that oftentimes the wins are not entirely within your control. And so, like a lot of times, if I were to show you my filled out spreadsheet, a lot of times the wins row is blank for many days. There's often fewer things in the win row than there are. Like it's often not filled out. That's what I'm trying to say. And so whereas the acknowledgments, I'm always have something in acknowledgments because I always put forward some kind of effort. I always did something or made some sort of progress towards something in terms of the effort that I put in. And that's really important to acknowledge because a lot of times we don't. We forget to give ourselves credit for the things we did. And oftentimes, well, not oftentimes, it's true that the things you do are the things that end up leading to wins down the road. And so these acknowledgments, this is acknowledging all those little baby steps, all those little tiny actions that you take towards goals that you have, being more of the kind of person you want to be. Like, this is really where things happen and where you're acknowledging all the things that you're doing. So, gratitudes is acknowledging all the things that you have, all the things that you're receiving from life, and acknowledgments is recognizing all of the things that you do, and the all those tiny wins in terms of your effort and your mindset. Um, all right, so then moving on, heaven on earth moments is something I added fairly recently. Um, and this is not meant to be religious. It's, regardless of whether or not you believe in a heaven, um, it's we kind of I feel like the word heaven on earth, people like all kind of know what that is, like a heaven on earth moment when you just have this moment in your life where you're like, wow. Life is so great. This is so awesome. I'm so glad I'm alive right now. Like, I'm so glad I get to experience this, right? That just sort of like, oh, it's good to be alive kind of moment. That's where you would record when you have those kind of moments. And again, this is something that in the beginning, when I started tracking it, I wasn't filling it out very often. But then recently I've been started having more and more of those moments. So it's always okay with any of these things if you don't have anything for that day. It's totally okay. Like this is not a homework assignment. You don't have to fill in all the spaces. It's just a place to record things, to record what happened, what you're thinking, what you're feeling, what you want to focus on, and just treat it as such. It should feel empowering, not like a chore. So, okay, so then down here we're tracking things that we want to track on a daily basis. So, one of the things I want to track is, did I achieve my intention for the day? And so if I did, I would check the box. And this right here is blank because it's a template for you all, but like I might put here like meditation, right? If I have a daily meditation practice. And in my case, I actually don't have for meditation, I'm keeping track of my streak. So I'll put like if today's day 301 of my meditation, then my meditation streak, then I would put that there, and each day I would just put whatever the day is for the streak. So you can use the check boxes or take them out, write something else in there, something else. I sometimes record as like sleep, how many hours I got. So if I got 7.5 hours, right? Oops, not 75. If I got 7.5 hours of sleep last night, I would put that there. Um, and then again, you can have as many or as few of these as you want. This is kind of a lot, like this number of rows. But the cool thing is that if you are like me and you're really ambitious and you're like, I want to achieve all of these habits every day, and you have all these, 7 things or whatnot, um, you'll quickly see over the pattern of a week how much, which things are you consistently doing and which things are you not consistently doing. Like the fact of whether or not you check the box or fill the thing out, that like tells you like, oh, am I actually focusing on that? I say that I want to do this or make it a habit, but am I really? This is where you're going to track that. And so it's not meant to be a judgment. It's just you're gathering data on your actions. What are you actually focusing on? So that's what can be really great about this is it's sort of just it's a record of this is where my focus is. These are the things I'm doing. These are things I'm putting my time and effort towards. And of course, how I'm feeling about it, which often shows up in like gratitudes, acknowledgments, wins, things like that. Okay, so this last section is totally optional. I am always reading something, listening to a podcast, listening to fiction books, and getting insights as a result. So I like to keep track of that. It's up to you if you want to. Maybe if you like travel a lot, you use this section to record all the places you travel to, or if you're someone who likes to cook, maybe you use a row for like things I cooked this week and you keep track of that. So it's whatever you're like, oh, I just think it would be fun to keep track of this because this thing ends up being a time capsule, basically, of your life and like what you were focusing on, what your thoughts were, and stuff like this. And so, like, in a minute, before when I showed you this one from 2021, when I was preparing for this video, I was like, oh my gosh, look at. Oh yes, I remember when that was happening. And so yeah, it's just it can be cool to look back on it if you want to. But if you never want to look at it again, that's fine. It's digital and you're not wasting trees with a physical planner. So that's what I like about it. So for me, I put whatever I'm learning, that's what this row is. Listening to and reading is more like tends to be fiction, right? What am I listening to or reading fiction wise? And then these are just like, oh, I had this realization today, or I had this aha moment, or this truth became clear to me, or whatever, things like that. I like to record there. So, yeah, so that's how you fill it out. And the last thing I would say is like the weekly review. So this column, I'll be honest, sometimes I fill this out and sometimes I don't. So ideally, what I would like to do is go back at the end of every week, look over my spreadsheet, and then just write down like the highlights. What are the things that stood out for me in terms of what I'm grateful for, things I did, wins I had, my biggest acknowledgments, etc. But something I also do that works as kind of a substitute for that is I will bold um, the anything that I that stands out. Like, oh my gosh, this was a huge acknowledgement, right? Like, um, forgave X, right? Like, oh, I forgave this person that I'd been like holding a grudge on about forever. I might like bold that so that it stands out, so that later, if I want to do like a quarterly or weekly review, quarterly review, annual review, whatever, I can sort of click through the tabs and just look at everything that's bold. Um, so that's kind of the cheater's way to do it. But again, it's up to you, however you want to use it. And if you never want to review it ever again, like that's fine too. I recommend bolding as you go. If you're like, ah, that was significant, you'll thank yourself later because at some point you'll probably want to go back and look at it, and it can be overwhelming when you have a spreadsheet because like for 2024, um, this has a tab for every single week. So 52 weeks. So like that's a lot of stuff to go through if you're like, I'm gonna do an annual review now. Yes, bold as you go, and that will make it easier when you just want to kind of look back through things really quick. So anyway, so that's how the GIWA spreadsheet works. I hope that's helpful, and I will share the link with you. If you are a friend or family member, I will send it to you personally. And if you're watching this online, I'll put it in the comments. So hope you enjoyed and have a wonderful day.